Hey everybody, it's Alzay Calhoun with Coveted Consultant. We're back for the second part of an interview series where I actually just asked a friend of mine and a client of mine to interview me to help me get some important thoughts out of my head. You may also experience this yourself when you're having private conversations and someone asks you a question or a certain conversation comes up and just awesome ideas come flowing out of your head. And then later on you try to recreate that on paper or write it out or type it up in a blog post, and it just doesn't come out the same way. And so I found myself in that situation more than once. And there's some stuff that you need to know if you're going to build a better consulting business. And without trying to be perfect, I want to make sure that I just get it out to you. So that's what this interview series is about. It's in two parts. This is the second, and so that's what we're doing here. There's some questions that we have. We're going to go through them so that you get the sharpest insight you can about the things you really need to know if you're going to build a best-in-class consulting business. So with that being said, let me introduce, let me let Tanya introduce herself. So Tanya, take it away.
Hi, my name is Tanya Howard, and I'm actually the owner of Altruistically Yours, and we are a volunteer management consulting business. And when I first started thinking about creating a business and talking to Alzay, we talked about not creating a mission statement for my business, but creating a brand ambition and a business ambition for my company to set myself apart from other consultants. Because after talking to him, what I learned is there's a difference between how normal people think about their business and how best-in-class people think about their business. So that led us to a conversation about switching from being a conventional consultant to a coveted consultant. So again, in this hangout, I wanted him to share with you some things that he shared with me about making that switch from being conventional to coveted. And so, Alzay, do you want to do a recap on some of the things that we talked about in the first hangout?
Yeah, let me do that. So high level points. Here's the first thing: is there's a fundamental shift you are going to have to make as the leader of your consulting business. In short, being smart is not enough. So just because you're certified, because you've got a medical degree, you've got a certain certification, you've got a master's degree, you've got certain years of experience in your field, that is not enough if you're going to build a best-in-class consulting business, because you can't do everything. So there's a fundamental shift between you doing everything and you being everything, and you creating a business that does everything and that is everything. So when people interact with you and your company, they know that they're going to get a consistent level of high-level, impactful service. They're going to get an excellent end result. And if everything depends on you, you can't guarantee that. Because some days you'll be tired, some days you'll be sad, some days you'll be mad, some days you just don't feel like it, some days you'll be on vacation, etc. So if everything counts on you, then you can't deliver that high level of expertise. So that's the first big thing. There's a shift that you have to make, and until you make that shift, you're going to find yourself bumping up against not only some profit ceilings, but some impact ceilings. You can't go as far as fast because of that. So that was the first big thing. So then, how do you begin to make that shift? So the first thing I recommend is a differentiated message. So there's a reason why you are in business, and that reason why is specifically different than everybody else in the marketplace. We're often convinced to follow conventional methods to express ourselves, use conventional methods to try and differentiate ourselves. But when you follow those conventional methods, you end up feeling conventional. But when you look at coveted businesses that are set apart from the marketplace, companies like Starbucks and Google and Apple Computer and Harley-Davidson motorcycles, they are considered specifically different. They have a messaging that is different. And so we talked about how to create that messaging. We talked about what that messaging feels like. We talked about how it resonates with customers. So those were the two major high-level points from the first part of the interview. If you haven't seen that, you should go back and give it a listen. I think you'll appreciate it. It was about making the big shift and creating differentiated messaging.
Okay, so Do you want to talk a little bit about those 3 points that you mentioned with the message, marketing, and management before we jump right back into that?
Okay, so that's the core framework that I use when working with clients to create this coveted consulting business. Is you've got to first you got to make the switch. That's a mental thing that has to happen first, and then as we begin to execute on that switch, the first thing is the differentiated messaging. So I just talked about that, and you need a marketing model that works, a marketing model that you can trust. So that's thing number two, and then there is the management of your business. So there is message, marketing, and management. And there are a lot of details on how you do business. I appreciate that. But as we think about it in those simple tiers, message, marketing, management, it simplifies all those details and then it helps you scale so you can be as big of a business as you want or you can have as much of an impact in your marketplace as you want.
Okay, great. So we're going to jump into the marketing part. And again, as Alze said, if you didn't get a chance to see or hear the first one, go back and revisit that so you can look at what he's talking about messaging. So right now we're going to jump into marketing. So the first question I want to ask you when talking about marketing, how should I actually spread the word about my coveted consultant? My coveted company, if you will, how do I spread the word?
So let me start here. The existing model for how consultants build their business, how they get the word out about their business is broken. It is fundamentally broken. So here's the first element of it that's fundamentally broken, is we count on networking and referrals to bring in new business. Here's what makes that broken. Here's where that model breaks down. Referrals are unpredictable. You can't control when they come. So if you're trying to grow 10% every quarter or 25% every quarter or 75% every quarter, you can't count on referrals because you don't know that you're going to get in 4 new referrals this quarter or 8 new referrals this quarter. You can't control it, right? Secondly, the second part on where referrals are broken is if you're starting from scratch or you're in a new or you're trying to enter into a new niche or into a new marketplace, you don't have any referrals. You don't have anybody that knows you and knows this new thing that you're trying to get done. So how do you get going? How do you get started? So referrals is a broken model. It is an element of a marketing mix, absolutely. But this idea of building a business based on referrals is just broken, and it keeps a lot of that feast-famine situation that we often experience as consultants. That's part of why we have it, is because we are 100% focused on referrals. Tied to that is our overdependence on networking. So as consultants, we spend a lot of time at quote-unquote networking events trying to find clients. And really, it just boils down to drink swirling and business card switching. We don't really earn any new clients, and it takes so much of that networking chatter before you can honestly have a real conversation about helping someone. Again, another flawed model. So those are all conventional approaches. To get more direct around what you should be doing to spread the word about your company is you need to get down to a core problem solution. There is a core problem that your best client is suffering from, and you have a clear solution. And so once you get that clear, then that is the message that you go spread. So if networking and referral based marketing is part of your mix, you can begin to do that. I have a little bit more of a model on that, but I think we've got a question coming up that will point to it. So let me just start with that. Just if you're thinking that way already and you're trying to figure out how you got stuck, it's probably because you are depending too hard on networking and too much on referrals to actually grow and scale your business.
Okay, so do I actually get to choose who I work with?
So in this, as you have established your problem solution, right? Another important part about marketing is this idea of client selection. You should absolutely be choosing who you work with. All money is not good money. All clients are not good clients. All projects are not good projects. And where a project may make a lot of sense for that consulting firm, it could be a horrible idea for your consulting firm. Where that dollar amount, you'd love to have it in your bank account. It may not be, when all things considered, it may not be worth the cost benefit. So you should be actively practicing client selection. How do you do that? Well, that begins with setting boundaries for yourself, for your own business, on who is a good client to work with. How much revenue do they make? How many employees do they have? What industry or niche do they operate in? What kinds of conferences do they go to? What kind of books do they read? There's a demographic and psychographic study you need to do. It doesn't have to take 16 months and be a 50-page report, but it does boil down to understanding who that core client is and being focused on helping that core client.
Okay, and I know you started to touch a little bit on this, but how do I actually describe my coveted company's solutions? How do I describe that?
Okay, so most of the conventional approach to describing what you do for a consultant is a generalist. There are a lot of generalist consultants out there, consultants who believe they can quote unquote do anything. They are not an expert really in anything, or they haven't claimed expertise in anything because they think they're good enough at everything. They also believe that what they have to offer is good enough to help everyone. And that might in fact be true. But for the core client, for the best client you're trying to speak to, helping everyone doesn't make them feel special. At the end of the day, your client, your best client, is trying to hear a targeted answer, a targeted solution to their targeted problem. And so you've got to focus your expertise in a certain area if you're going to get that done. So here's some help with that. So think about what you do in regards to, first of all, you got a core problem and solution, right? And so then let's think about that a little further. Think about what the obvious benefits are of having the solution. What's obvious? I mean, everybody knows that, when you are hungry and you eat a slice of pizza, you'll stop being hungry. That's an obvious benefit. Okay? So let's continue. Think about some of the hidden benefits. So perhaps if I sell pizza, I'm a pizza shop, and so the obvious benefit is you'll stop being hungry. One of the hidden benefits is we have an excellent environment in our pizza shop. We've got televisions, we've got nice waiters and waitresses. We have got games you can play at the table. Those are things that people may not. That's not obvious when you order a slice of pizza, but once you come in, you begin to see that's present. So those are some of the hidden benefits tied to your service offering. Think about some of the fears that your best client has. So again, just staying with the analogy of being hungry, there might be a quiet fear that they'll stay hungry for longer than they want, right? If they don't find a good restaurant to go to, then they'll be hungry for 2 or 3 more hours, and that can be a little scary, right? So that's a fear, and there are more fears. If you think honestly about what your client is suffering from, there are fears. There are also objections. So there are classic sales objections. There are specific reasons why your best client doesn't make the purchase. And you need to be aware of what those objections are. You need to have a clear understanding. You should be able to list out what those objections are. And finally here, I've got frustrations. So there are specific times of year, specific times of day where their pain point is pressed. So, for example, if they're hungry, somewhere around breakfast time, 8 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around noon time, which is lunch, and somewhere around dinner time, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. in the evening, the idea of being hungry comes back again. So that is pricked. It is frustrated again. And so as you understand your best client and you think about that core problem solution, and then you walk through the obvious benefits, the hidden benefits, the fears, the objections, the frustrations, you start telling a much richer story about not only who your best client is, but specifically how you can help them. And that raises your positioning in the marketplace.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If I'm not personally attending every Chamber of Commerce meeting, how do I think about marketing? What does that look like? How do I begin to think about marketing if I'm not at every meeting?
Right. Okay. So this is for the consultant who's been taught to network and been taught to build their business behind referrals or off of referrals. And so you've got to go to meetings every week, right? You're always at another meeting. You're always hanging out, right? Now, by the way, I'm not saying don't hang out. I'm not saying don't go to networking meetings. But I'm saying if that's the only thing you're doing, that it is really hard on you as the leader of the business. So let's keep things in perspective. How do you think about marketing? There is a 3-part funnel that I talk about with my clients. The funnel has 3 parts, and there's a lot of funnel strategies, and they can be extremely confusing. But let me make it plain by saying this. In that funnel, the first part is see, the second part is try, the third part is buy. So there's a certain number of people who at the top of the funnel who are going to see what it is you have to offer. They've just heard about you for the first time. They get an advertisement in the newspaper. They get something in the mail. They see an email, for example. Then from that first opportunity that is seen, they are offered trial, which for consultants typically is a one-on-one consultation or free consultation, or maybe you may have a white paper or a book you can offer, etc. But that's a trial to get a sense of what you do, right? To try you out. And then from that trial, they're made an offer to make a purchase of some kind. So that's see, try, buy. And so there's your funnel. So it takes a certain number of advertisements, of eyeballs to what you have, people who've seen it. And then from that, they're offered a trial of some kind. They can try it. They can try it out. And then from that trial method, they can make a purchase. They can buy something. Now, what they buy and what price point of what they buy, that can be a bit of a longer conversation. But for those consultants who have bought advertising before and haven't gotten their return, it's probably because your advertisement did not encourage movement down the funnel. You may have been taught a lot of brand marketing and branding strategies, etc. And there's a place for that. But when it gets down to client acquisition and having consistent clients in your business on a regular basis, then you've got to have a funnel, and you have to be able to count those metrics out. See, try, buy. So that's how I would suggest you think about your marketing, especially if you've been counting on networking to build your business.
Okay, so after we've made that introductory offer, if you will, what do I do next? Like how do I generate leads?
So this is a question of your funnel and how you should think about it. So you should be offering, here's the short response, you should be offering the invitation into your business on a daily basis. And here's another place where this referral marketing and networking breaks down is if you have a marketing model in place, a marketing funnel in place, you can advertise each and every day. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to see 100 people. You don't have to make 100 phone calls. This machine will work on your behalf. So I'm talking about advertising. I'm talking about advertising in the kinds of publications and on the kinds of websites where your core client is, right? You problem solution, you know who your core client is. And so when you have that in place, you can advertise each and every day. And so so once you've got that free thing, whatever that free offer is, you are making that free offer available every single day. So whether you choose to do it again online, or you do it in the newspaper, or you do it through trade publications, there are some choices. But once you have that in place, then now you're getting, if the funnel's in place every day, then now you're getting new leads every day. There's somebody else who wants to do business with you every single day without you having to go anywhere. So having that in place just begins to bring a level of consistency to your business, because you know if just one new lead comes in every day, that's 30 leads in a month that come in. And if you convert 1 out of 4, if you convert you know, if you convert one, if it takes you 1 out of 30, that's a new client every month. If you can convert 2 out of 30, that's 2 new clients every month. But now we can count that up. Now it's about math, and it's not about how charismatic you are at a given networking event.
Okay. Okay, so Alze, talk to us a little bit about what a model would look like for establishing thought leadership, authority, and positioning.
So this is also important for consultants. We're experts, right? We are very, very good at what we do, and we are very knowledgeable about what we do. And so terms like building authority, building thought leadership, those things are things we care about. They matter. Now, we got to put that in context, though. Thought leadership is not built according to what you say. It is it's built on what your best client receives. So if your best client thinks you're smart, then you're smart. If your prospects think that you're smart, then you're smart. And that will encourage them to continue listening to you and taking in your advice. But if you are the only person that thinks you're smart, or if your company is always talking about how smart it is, that doesn't mean that you're building thought leadership. That just means that you're just bragging. You're simply boasting, right? So the short recipe for creating thought leadership, for building authority, for strengthening your positioning is around creating content. So typically consultants create white papers, we create free reports. There's nothing wrong with that. We create free videos and things like that. There's a place for all of that. What's in that content, though, really, really matters. So it is that content that you put out shouldn't be about the services that you offer and how you can help people. That content that you put out should solve specific problems that currently exist in your prospect's world. And the way I think about that is one piece of content should point to one problem and offer one solution. So if you create a white paper, and that white paper talks about 19 different things, and then you're trying to sell 19 different services from the white paper, it's confused. It's a lot easier for you to create and for your core client to receive if you just focus on one core thing. Say, hey, if you have a problem with hiring employees, then I have a method to help you hire better employees. And here's what that method looks like. Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. If you need help putting this process in place, give our company a call. And that's just so much easier to digest than the 19 different ways you can help people, and then you brag about all of your awards and experiences when really your clients don't care. They really just want their problem solved. So commit to creating content, but commit to creating content that solves active problems. And as you do that consistently, you're building the thought leadership that we've been taught to build.
Okay, so we talked about some everyday things. We talked about some every week things. What should our coveted company be doing on a quarterly basis? Is there something that we should be doing quarterly as far as marketing?
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about advertising your free offer, your free trial, your free consultation every day. That's an everyday discipline, right? That's the marketing funnel. So what I just described about building your authority, building your positioning, creating this content. So that is a good way to think about that, is doing that every week. So once a week you create some new content, one problem, one solution, a piece of content on a weekly basis, right? And send that out to your audience. So that's every week. Every quarter, what I think is really, really good to do is to have a client intake once a quarter. So every 90 days you take on new clients. And to the best of your ability, you shut off client intake except for in these different quarterly points. So 4 times a year you take in new clients. Why? Number one, it puts you in control of your business. You know when you take in new clients, once every quarter. And that means you can prepare to take in new clients. If you've got to staff up to take on new clients, you know when to do that, once every quarter. If you need certain consulting help, if you need certain vendors to come in and do certain things for you, you know when to bring them on. So you can control not only the people who come into your business, but you can also control the costs of when you do your major promotions. You know they happen once a quarter. Speaking of controlling who comes into your business, now we're talking about client selection again. Once a quarter, you offer a very specific program. If it's $2,000, fine. If it's $20,000, great. If it's $500,000, great. Every quarter, you offer a chance for a select number of clients to come in and work with your company in this big program that you have created. You get to choose how many clients come in. If you can handle 2, you take on 2. If you can handle 5, you take on 5. If you can handle 35, you take on 35. Hopefully what you hear right now is control, right? You now have control of what happens in your business. So instead of you taking any client that comes anytime, and you really had a vacation scheduled in 7 days, but now you can't take it because this new client just came in, or you want to go on vacation in 2 weeks, but you can't because 2 months ago you took on a client that you shouldn't have. The program is now extended beyond its scope, and so now you're still working with that client, 6, 7, 8 weeks after when you thought you'd be finished, and now you can't move on. It puts you out of control of your business. You've got to get in control. Coveted consultants have control of their business. So every quarter, you have a client intake period. It's a very specific campaign that you run. You bring people in, you serve the heck out of them, and then you begin to look forward to your next quarterly promotion. It's the simplest way I know how to bring in great clients and keep control of your business.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we've talked about some good things. We've talked about how to talk about what our company does, how to describe our solutions, talked about a funnel process. We've talked about what to do every day, every week, every quarter. Do you feel like we've covered everything under marketing?
Yeah, I think those are the big things. And actually, I won't add anything to it. I think we did. It's there, so we can move on.
Okay, so we're going to move on to management. So with management, of course, the first question is, who should I hire first?
So, and let me just back up just a little bit here. So, for leaders of consulting companies, this should be the fun part, because now you get a chance to build out the business that's actually in your mind. So we're not focused on networking every day, right? We're not trying to figure out what 40 events we can go to. We don't have to create 40 new white papers this week. We're not dealing with 100 clients that we shouldn't have taken on, and et cetera, right? So now we're into what your company should look like on a day-to-day basis and what role you choose to play in this excellent company. All of a sudden, we're not talking about you anymore. We're talking about the company. And now we can architect this company. We can build out this company the way that we want. So that should be an exciting premise. So before we rush into hiring anybody, let's just take a deep breath and draw the map out of what we want the company to look like. And so while I'm on this point, let me just go ahead and kind of draw a picture for you, and hopefully you can appreciate this. So there's a simple org chart, an organizational chart that I put in front of my clients, and it looks something like this. At the top of the org chart is the visionary. It's the person who is looking out into the future, who is excited about that next thing the company can accomplish and can tackle. That's the visionary. Underneath that person is the CEO, is the person responsible for the day-to-day operations of the business. Notice I didn't put those two things together. I separated them. There is a visionary, and then underneath that person is an operation function person. Okay? So then underneath the CEO falls a number of directors, and we can make this difficult, but let's not. How about that? So we've got marketing, we've got finance, we've got legal. Okay, so legal, you simply hire a lawyer, right? That's something you have to outsource. You hire a lawyer. For those things that are finance, that's about managing cash flow. Make sure you've always got money in the business to spend today and in the future. That's about spreadsheets. You can hire someone to do that kind of work for you. But on this marketing side of the equation, you've got to bring customers in, you've got to service them well, and then you've got to get them to come back for more services. The better you do that, the healthier your business is, the faster it can grow. If you have a wonderful finance department, that is not going to dictate the growth of your business. If you've got an excellent legal department, that's not going to dictate the growth of your business. But how well you bring new clients in, how well you service them, and how well you're able to get them to make another purchase from you, how well you do that dictates how well your company grows. So as I just described that, you found a pain point in there somewhere. There's somewhere in there where you're not doing what you know you're supposed to be, and that is where you should think about hiring your first level of help.
Okay, so let me piggyback on, you talked about company growth. Let's talk about stabilization. So how do I stabilize my business and limit the feast famine that you mentioned earlier in the call and maximize vacations? So stabilize business, limit that feast famine, but maximize vacations.
Right, but maximize vacations. Right. So feast famine is a dynamic that many clients experience. And many of my clients who are consultants experience. It affects any size. I've heard of little bitty companies that are going through major feast famine cycles, and then I've seen much larger companies who are experiencing feast famine cycles. So where's the first place you should go to rectify this so that you have a more stable income stream and bring some predictability to your business? Is you should automate client acquisition. So that funnel that I was talking about, that fundamental see, try, buy, you should know what that looks like in your business. You should be able to spell out the steps of what that looks like in your business, meaning someone sees this ad, then they visit this page or they call this number, and then when they call somebody or they call into us, we know who answers the phone, we know what they're going to say, we know how to assess their needs, and then we call them back or we have a second meeting where we give them a proposal and we match our proposal directly against their needs, and if they say yes, here's what we do. If they say no, then here's what we do, and if they say yes, then we offer these services. If they say no, here's how we follow up. You've got to be able to spell all of that out. And if that's not spelled out, and I'm talking about on a sheet of paper or in an internal document somewhere, then that you're bleeding there. That is a hole that currently exists in your business. What I just described needs to be actively present in your business. It needs to be an ongoing mechanism. And if you know that you are going to attract so many leads today or this week, and you know that you're going to convert so many leads today or this week, then there's less pressure about where tomorrow's revenue is going to come from. And so as you can look into the future, then you can begin to schedule vacations. Because you can say, hey, I know we're going to make X number of dollars this quarter, X number of dollars next quarter, and so I can step away from the business, and I can hang out with my family, I can hang out with my friends, I can go fishing, play tennis, pick up a new hobby, whatever you want to do, without being concerned that you've got to run back into your business and play hero to patch things up. So the first place you should look towards is to automate your client acquisition process.
Okay, so let's just say I have 10 clients right now. That's good. But how do I make it so they don't need me all the time? They don't need all of my time. How do I work that out? What does that look like?
One thing that really good experts do is they're able to attract clients because they've got charisma, they've got passion for what they do, and so that brings clients in, right? Okay. Now, the pro of that is that you've got clients in. The con of that is the clients really bought into you and your ability to execute something. So when you're not around, they don't feel as good, right? So you've got to create a model, you've got to create a method where that great thing that you do, that gets done without clients having to call you. So your phone shouldn't ring at 8 o'clock at night. There shouldn't be client emergencies at 11 p.m. That just shouldn't be the case, because your clients are working a model, and your clients know they're working a model. They know that they're in step 4 of a 10-step process. And they know after step 4 comes step 5. And there's no skipping steps. So they go from step 4 to step 5 to step 6. And the people on your team know that clients have to navigate through each of those steps or each of those phases to get to the end result that you promised. So as the consulting model is no longer in your head and begins to be on paper, spelled out one phase at a time or one step at a time, then you personally become less accountable to each and every client. There may still need to be emergencies that you respond to, but the day-to-day operations now don't require fire drills from you.
Okay, good. So this next question might be a revisit of the question that you just answered about stabilizing the business. But how does my business actually grow without me?
So to get your business to grow, to truly grow without you, that's where the community comes into your business. So you got clients coming in, right? And that now you've got that automated. You know what that looks like. That's a repeat operation that you feel very comfortable with. So that's the acquisition of new clients. Great. To get that, or once you have that established, now you're playing the game of always having to have new clients. Well, what if you don't have to always have new clients? What if you don't have to always be on the grind of attracting and acquiring new clients? What if the clients who are currently with you, who already know, like, and trust you, who already are excited about what you've already provided for them, what if there's something else, another way you can stay with them for an extended period of time? So what I'm talking about is some sort of continuity offering, some sort of membership, some sort of annual subscription, some sort of mastermind group, coaching program, etc. There are a lot of ways you can fashion this. A simple way of thinking about it is, when you buy a software program, you pay up front for the installation, and then you pay an ongoing monthly fee for maintenance so that you can continue to use the service. So as you have that continuity income created, then you don't have to fish out so many more clients now, so many additional clients, because you know you're going to bring in $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 this month. So that's the short answer, is you have to create some sort of continuity opportunity with your company. If you don't have one, it's a thing you should really consider, because that is going to bring an excellent baseline of revenue that you can count on, because they're paying every month. It's coming every month, and that stabilizes a lot of the flow of your business.
Okay, so revisiting hiring. Do I hire potential or do I hire experience?
So I like this question a lot, because I think there are a lot of mistakes made with who we hire, how we hire, when we hire. And actually, it might need to be a hangout all to itself, because I'm kind of feeling myself with a lot of thoughts coming up here. But let me bottom line is this. Here's the mistake that's made, is most companies hire via the resume. They look at the resume, and the longer, denser resume gets hired. The person with the most experience, the most certifications, the longest list of credentials, the best references, that person gets hired. And here's the rub of that. Here's where that ends up making sense. Is just because that person is talented does not mean that those talents work well in the machine that you're building. So somebody can be incredibly talented and just not fit with how you operate. So here is my bottom line response to a lot of the faulty hiring practices that are out there. You hire for minimum competency, maximum character. Minimum competency, maximum character. What does that mean? There is a baseline set of skills that you need to hire for. So whether it is an assistant to answer the phones, you need someone to sit down for 6-7 hours a day and speak fluent English when they answer the phone. That might be the minimum competency. or you're hiring a chief financial officer who needs to be able to interpret financial documents and communicate that to the company at large. That's minimum competency. But here's what you can't compensate for as a company. You can't compensate for character. So if someone doesn't show up to work on time, if they don't do exactly what they say they're going to do, if they can't play nice with fellow team members, if they don't show well, if they don't communicate well in front of prospective clients, if they don't have a high level of character, then sooner or later they will cause serious pain inside your organization. So once you've established the minimum competency, then you want as much character as you can get. You want someone that makes you feel good when you're sitting in front of them because you can trust what they say. Because that person you can trust, you can train. The person you can trust can also be trained for whatever those high level of skills that you need. They have the minimum competency, high level of character. You can train them to an infinite standard. But if they have high level of competency and a minimum level of character, you can't train them to do anything. They will reject any opportunity to change or grow within your organization, which eventually causes friction.
Okay, that's good stuff. So talk to us a little bit about how to hire. What does that look like?
So hiring equals training. If you're going to hire, that also means you need to train. And the training part of hiring is vastly underrated. So again, we get so excited about resumes. We get so excited about who they used to work for and how many degrees they have and et cetera, the size of their last project, et cetera, et cetera. But what you can't compensate for is character. So what you got to have in your company is prepared training for the person who you've hired. There are skills you know that is a minimum competency, and then there are things they have to know to be a part of your company. And when they get hired, then they get introduced to whatever those things are. Perhaps you have a formal orientation process. Maybe everybody comes into a room for a week or a month or 6 months and goes through training. That's fine. Maybe it's a little more informal, and you have them shadow a certain person at your company, or whatever. Those are all viable options, and there are many others. But what you have to acknowledge, though, is that if you are going to hire someone, you're also going to train someone. They come together, and so you cannot undervalue that. So you brought somebody in, that's great. You need to know as the leader of your company what skills you need them to have, and have those things plotted out, and they should be stepping through that training as they are introduced to your company. Okay,
good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about metrics. When having a business, a coveted business, if you will, what metrics matter the most? Like, what should we specifically be focusing on when we want to measure our metrics?
Here's the easy answer: focus on sales. Right? You focus on sales. You focus on new clients. Focus on client acquisition. Those are the classic answers. Those are also conventional answers. Those are what conventional consulting companies focus on. And what that creates is, especially if you've got sales goals only, what that creates is customer acquisition at all costs. So you bring in clients that you can't really help, or you bring in clients that need things that you don't do really well. You can do them, but you don't do them well. That they aren't the best thing that your company does. You bring in too many clients that you could have served if you brought them in 6 months later, but you can't serve them because you got 4 other clients you're working with, and you can't get 10 done at one time. So if you focus on sales only, sooner or later you're going to trick yourself, and that's going to introduce pain. So the real answer here, what I believe to be the real answer here, rewinds to the first conversation that we had, the first part of this interview series, which is you got to look again at your brand ambition. So your brand ambition talks about the core problem solution, who you serve, and where you plan to take them. So they go from having a pain to not having a pain. And then your business ambition matches directly with that brand ambition. So the business ambition says, Here is the process we take our clients through. They're going to experience this major experience, this major experience, and this major experience. And that is what you're measuring in your company. How many people did we introduce to these major deliverable points, these major execution points? How many people got to stage A that we believe to be so important? How many people got introduced to stage B that we believe to be so important? How many people got introduced to stage C that we believe to be so important? And then how many of them graduated to stage D that we know is the most important end result for our prospective clients? If you're measuring that, that means time and time again, people are coming in with a certain problem and leaving with a certain excellent solution. And now your company is known for producing that specific end goal. So we talk about brand building, building authority. We talk about all those kind of thought leadership, those kind of high-level, high-minded phrases. That's how you create that. It's people who come to your company, wet and leave dry. People that come to your certain company that come hungry and leave full. People who come inexperienced and leave experienced. Whatever that core transition is, that's what you've got to measure. Sales is a byproduct of you delivering on that over and over and over again. So that's a lot, and that may be a bit of a brain shift that you're going to have to make. But if you focus on sales only, you've got a roadblock coming hard and fast. If you focus on delivering delivering at a high level for your clients, then growth is yours to have.
Okay. Now I do have one last question before we close out this management part. Where do I find affordable expertise? Is this something that I should be thinking about? Finding affordable expertise, if you will.
You're right. So what does that even mean, right? Okay. So this is kind of a way to wrap up the conversation that we're having under management. Is we had this conversation of, we began this management piece with, this is the opportunity to build out the business that you've seen in your head. And we had these series of questions that helped explain why that's so important, why it's so important to build out what's in your head and not let it all be your own effort. So, okay, we've established that. Now, there are some, as we walk through this, you probably realize that there are some pain points that you have. There are some places where you need some help, and you might not be able to hire a six-figure consultant to come help you out. You might not be able to hire make a full-time hire at 6 or going on 7 figures to help you. So for that person who's trying to make some of these changes and needs to figure out where to get specific help from, so not large-scale strategic help, but if you're trying to, for example, get some white papers created and you need someone to edit the white papers, where would you get that done without having to bring on a full-time hire, right? So there are a number of places, especially in today's time, where you can get highly technical and affordable help. And so there are places like Elance, Odesk, Guru.com. So that's elance.com, odesk.com, and guru.com. Those are places where people who have technical expertise can be hired. They can be hired by the hour. They can be hired on retainer. You can pay them, on a project basis. There are a number of ways you can hire these people. But here's the thing: is that avenue for hiring vendors or freelancers is most valuable when you have a plan for them to execute on. So if you don't have a funnel, if you don't have a map for how your organization should be working together, if you're not sure what your next white paper should be about, then you can't hire somebody to tell you. That's your job as the leader of your business. But once you've figured out that, hey, I need 10 white papers and I need them on these certain topics, and I need to send them off to an editor to get created, or I need to create a 5-video series, and I need someone to edit my videos so that they look a certain way. That stuff you can absolutely hire out, and the clearer you are with your expectations, the less that project is going to cost you. The clearer you are, the less it costs you. So it's to your advantage to do your leader's job first. before you begin to reach out for help. But there are a lot of places to get help once you're organized, once you've got those ducks in a row.
Okay. Well, that was my last question. Do you think we covered all of the management aspects? Is there anything else that you would like to say?
I think that's enough. I just want to I want to encourage you for a second to stop all the activities that you have been doing for 30 minutes today. Take your lunch break today, and instead of being concerned about the fire drill of the day, be more concerned about the business you're actually trying to build, and start mapping some things out. And they may be perfect, they may not be perfect. You may find yourself mapping it out, and you may get stuck at a certain place. That's fine. That's fine. But that is your job. Your job is to map this stuff out. Your job is to give this stuff design, to give it architecture. And if you don't do it, there's nobody else in your company who can or who will even try. So that's just my encouragement, to just, for today, take your lunch break. Stop with the fire drills and just map out how you'd like things to go. Write down the order of steps of how you like things to work. And as you do that, you'll find some things beginning to work in your favor. So.
Okay, thank you. That's great encouragement. Are there any other things that you can think about? Any final thoughts that we should be focused on? Are you going to close this out?
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap everything up, there's a core shift that you got to make as the leader of the business, not a high-level consultant, but as the leader of the business. There's a shift that you're going to have to make if you want to bust through the ceiling that you found. And the way I organize that is you got to focus on some differentiated messaging. You got to focus on a clear marketing funnel, and you've got to lay out the management of your organization. And as you do that, things begin to flow in a much faster and a much more comfortable manner, and you break through those. You break through that ceiling that you found yourself hitting. That's the core idea. That's the core idea. So whatever part of this interview series that spoke to you, let it speak to you, and begin to work in that manner. And if I can help you in any way, please reach out, and we can talk about how to get all this stuff done. So that's it.
I thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, Tanya, thank you. So some of these things, as you know, they've kind of been stuck in my head. So I just want to say thank you, Tanya, for spending your time to help me get this done. And yeah, we just look forward to more content like this. So thank you. Thanks to Tanya for being my interviewer. Thank you to you for spending your time watching this video. And just stay tuned as we get you more good content like this.